Welcome everyone to Talent Bites. This is our second episode in a series powered by Esade Careers and the Blacks in Business and Allies Club in collaboration with Kobi Ampoma, who moderates these events. Kobi works in talent acquisition and is the owner of JNL Recruitment. Today, our guest speaker is Aksel Parmaksiz, Senior Vice President of Sustainable Business Transformation at Calvin Klein. Please feel free to ask questions in the chat during the session, and I will now hand the floor over to Kobi.
Good evening, good morning, based on where you are, or good afternoon. Welcome to our Talent Bites episode with Esade Business. I'm very, very excited to be here today to introduce my guest. That is Aksel. Aksel is a very, very dear friend of mine. Plus, she's also my mentor. I've learned so much from her over the last couple of years. And today we're going to have a candid conversation where we talk about innovation, sustainability, obviously how she moved her career to the ranks in the corporate environment. And hopefully she can share some advice and some tips on how you can do that as well. So welcome Aksel.
Hi, Kobi. Hi, everyone. Great to be here.
So before we start, Aksel, obviously you and I know each other, and it's always a pleasure to have you on the phone or, as we do our chit chats often. And, I really, as I mentioned, also see you as part of my inner circle, where your advice is very valuable to me in the decision I've made. But as a first question, I would like you to share, or tell us a little bit about yourself, where you grew up, how big is your family or how small your family is, so that we get to know you a little bit better.
Thanks, Kobi. So we go back. I'm Turkish and I am going to turn 40 years old this year. I have born in a small city called Konya in Turkey, youngest child in the family, and I have two siblings. I was very fortunate enough to have the siblings so that they can walk the path before than me, and I learned so much from them. My family still lives in Turkey, and when I turned to 17, I moved to Istanbul for the university, for the education. I studied textile engineering, and I lived in Istanbul for 16 years, where I worked for two American brands like Gap and Levi's. And after that, I met you 7 years ago, and you actually helped me to move my journey from Istanbul to Amsterdam, and you were the recruiter to hire me for PVH, where I came as merchandising director for Tommy. And after that, 7 years, moved around different functions, and now I'm in Calvin Klein. I'm about to start a new journey and move from Amsterdam to New York by end of this summer, which I'm looking forward. What else I can say? 20 years of experience as in textile, fashion, starting in production and then moving to different functions like merchandising, marketing, sales, e-com, planning, innovation, sustainability, inclusion, diversity, digital. I have seen many functions and I worked with so many great people. I'm really looking forward to share more today.
Good. I mean, that's already, I hear all the functions that you've been part of. And as a recruiter, my easiest job was making sure that your resume was presented to, back then, our leader for the Tommy business. And one of the things that we always did at PVH is, we were always looking for talent. And the way that I met you was that my manager said, "Hey, Kobi, I spotted this talented lady who was working at Levi's. She comes to Amsterdam, I think once a year for work. I think it would be great if you meet her, to add it to your pipeline, because we think that she could add value to our company. I'm happy that I did that, which resulted into you, landing your opportunity. So it comes to one of my questions that I wanted to ask. So looking back at your career, when you began your career, can you share with us, one thing that you wish you've known that you didn't know, let's say back then, looking back?
Great question. I think I put so much pressure on myself to think and decide what I want to do with my life before I start my career. And I was a textile engineer, and I could have started from different angles. And I wish someone has told me that I can move around and I can do different things, and I didn't need to think that much. But still, I think the most important thing is start the journey and see how it goes, and then you can do different things with your life. So I wish I know that I can change my career and it wouldn't be the one path. Like if I start in marketing, that doesn't mean that I will stay in marketing for 20 years. And that didn't happen. But I thought it was going to happen when I started this journey.
Okay. So the advice that, what I'm hearing is that start your journey, try and make sure that you master it, and potential opportunity will come the way, and dare to take those decisions when it comes your way. Okay.
Exactly.
Good. What about failures? Obviously, you have you still have a career, a long way to go, I would say. You're just scratching the surface. What about some earlier failures that you had in your career? Can you share some stories around that with us?
I think the biggest failure might be happening at PVH. When I was working for innovation, I took a path which was a very difficult path. We didn't have any innovation function, and I wanted to build an innovation function. And I moved away from my normal path. Normally, if you are doing something, let's say merchandising, it's written there. Like in a couple of years, you get the promotion, you move ahead. But I changed my career because I was super passionate about innovation. And I think the failure at that moment for me was realizing that I was doing some mistakes. I thought that I should do this by the book, and I was really stubborn to go with that. And although I realized that's something wrong and I should change, it took me a while to correct the path and change my way. It costed me a couple of years extra. I might have faced the same thing this year because I'm having a new job and building a new department, and the things may not always work out as you would imagine. I think you should be more flexible and see if you're making a mistake and change. That is tough. It's not easy, and it requires so much courage, being brave to do that. But I also saw that the results were so rewarding. So all the failures, I learned that when you go through that and when you face it, you learn a lot. And it was always rewarding for me.
Okay. And did you have any resources that you tapped into, to guide you or to help you during those phases?
Of course. You are one of them, for sure. I think, first of all, you have to surround yourself with the people who you trust. I call them trusted advisors, trusted mentors. It could be anyone, actually. It could be internal from the company or external from your circle. It's really important to have those people because sometimes we are blind. We don't see what we are going through, and the other people can help us to actually see the things. But on top of that, I think one of the resources that we shouldn't forget is ourselves. Sometimes we also dismiss that. We should also trust ourselves that we can go through this. And I would say have the trusted advisors around you in different levels and keep them really a healthy relationship. Maintain that. And if you need more, add more as well. And then trust yourself. as a resource.
Yeah. Okay. That's good advice to give. One of the things that I always try to advocate for is, having mentors to help and guide, either internally or externally, because I think it's a great resources, like you said, people who can help you see your blind spot, because sometimes you're emotional attached, or you're very passionate about something that you think that way is maybe the way to go. So, having a mentor or somebody who can guide you is definitely a big one, and also not to be scared to fail. So thank you for sharing that. I'm going to quote you here. So on your bio, you have that you were visionary, strategic thought leader with strong experience in the domain of innovation and sustainability. I would like to get a good understanding why how to call innovation and sustainability has been very important topics for you.
Another great question. I think I mentioned that I'm a textile engineer. For me, this is a mindset. Like, I am an engineer. I look at the things by fixing them. I call it fixed. Of course, I'm not fixing, but if something is around me happening, I always think if there is a better way to do that, like better way to produce, better way to sell, better way to do. I think that made me like automatically like innovation mindset. And I realized that could be super helpful for the organizations, because in the end, most of the organizations are really stuck with what is happening. Like, this is working, why do we change? But I'm always thinking there's always a better way. So let's try different things and change. And that's why innovation was super important for me. And that's coming from that angle. And sustainability, that maybe a bit accelerated also from my thinking with this pandemic, COVID. Like right now, if you look around you, the world is changing. We are living in a world that we are consuming a lot, and we are damaging the planet. We are damaging also in the society as well. I think one thing that was saying is the futurist. I look for future, but being futurist also requires to look back and see what was happening in the last decades, maybe even centuries. And most of the societal changes were happening during these pandemic times. So if you look at that, sustainability, inclusion, they are becoming super important right now in the world that we are living, and we need champions to drive this. And combining with that innovation angle, I thought it was super important. And I'm really fortunate that I have been given the chance to drive that with one of the iconic brands in the world. We need more people to look into that innovation and sustainability.
Okay. It's very interesting that you mentioned, because at least for me in the last couple of years, when you are talking about young talent, it is very important for them to have or at least work for an organization where predominantly sustainability is a very important component. And maybe you can add innovation to that. Listening to you a little bit, share like, okay, what has been going on in the last couple of decades, maybe now with the pandemic. But I've seen this happening the last 5 years already when it comes to young talent. Why do you think that young talent find this subject so important?
Because people will look for a reason, like a reason behind the things. I think we started to question the things more and more. And right now, there are so much noise around us. With the world is changing, with the technology is increasing, accelerating. Like, it's so difficult to even focus and get some attention. Like, you need to stand for something. And when you stand for something, either as an individual or an organization, you can bring the committees behind you. You can bring the people together. And again, an impact of that pandemic is making us more individual. We are sitting at our homes, lonely. We are not even touching, talking, seeing people. And I think that increase of purpose, mission is a result of it. Like people look for a reason to join companies, especially we are seeing this with the young talent, because they don't want to only do the things for the business, and they are aware of that the world is going not in a very good place at this moment with the planet if we don't do the right thing. And I think that's why the new talent or the younger talent is looking for the companies who has a purpose behind.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, I've always found it interesting because, I don't want to give my age, but when I was growing up, I was not thinking that way per se. You always think about, okay, how can I contribute, right? Being older and understanding things a little bit more different. But, I still speak to a lot of talented individuals, and, if I ask them about, what is the main motivation for, the role or the company, it always comes back to the purpose or the mission, right? And either giving back to, society, or either giving back to, nature. So it's been intriguing for me, at least the last 5 years, hearing more and more talent talk about that.
If I can add one more thing, Kobi, first of all, age is a number. Like we shouldn't even talk about age. Regarding standing for something and giving the reason for this talent, it's not only for the society or the planet, it's also good for business. We have seen this with Nike is standing for something and they're increasing their sales 31% immediately. Gillette has done the same thing. Like if you stand for really specific topic, like, I don't know, could be gender, could be ethnicity, could be something else, people will come behind you. So that is super important. It's not only about feeling good about what you're doing, it will definitely have a great business impact as well. And more of the companies started to understand that and see that. Even the investors, we are seeing it.
Okay. I think it's a very interesting shift. I would like to move on into get your personal opinion on what you think the current state of sustainability is in the retail space. So just want to get your personal opinion.
I think it starts with the awareness. Like if you want to drive something and if you want to change something, you have to be aware of that. In terms of the industries, I think oil industry was the first industry to go through that transformation in terms of sustainability, because the impact that they had was huge. And the second polluting industry after the oil is fashion. And now fashion industry is going through the same transformation because we are, again, damaging the environment, and we have to take the responsibility and we have to do the right thing. So in terms of that, I see the awareness is there, and more brands and companies are started to do real progress in terms of this. And I just take your retail question as the fashion. Of course, we can also think different industries, FMCG and the rest. I will still continue to talk about the fashion, because I think fashion is the real industry going through that transformation at this moment in terms of sustainability. But there are so many lacking things. Like we don't have common language. Like when you say sustainability, what does it mean? The consumer might understand something, or even different group of people can understand something. So the awareness is there, the feeling of, oh, we have to do something is there, but it also allows so much greenwashing. Like people are saying this is sustainable, but is that really? Did you do the required due diligence behind that? Do you have the proof points? Do you have the certifications in place? How do you communicate that? So it's still in the beginning of the journey. I think there's still room to go, for sure. I cannot say that we are there for sure. It is just the beginning, but it starts with the awareness and the conversation. The good news is that sustainability is in the board level discussions right now. Like this is a huge progress. Like investors are looking for sustainability. They are looking for the ESG scoring. This means things will change, because it is coming from investor angle, it is coming from consumer angle. All the talent working for the brands, companies, organizations, they ask for it. So the need, awareness is there, and we need more people to drive this. Maybe that will be also a lack or the gap in the industry. If you go through the LinkedIn, you will see there are tons of jobs opening for the sustainability. There's definitely a demand, higher demand right now. I'm not sure if there's enough supply of the talent. So we need also the education, training, more resources on that.
Yeah, I think that's what I've encountered in the past when I was recruiting for either innovation or sustainability roles. Is that the market, a lot of companies were doing new things. So to have people who then have those skill sets was not always there. That ties a little bit back into the question I would like to ask. What advice would you give someone who's looking to enter into the fashion retail space? What skills do you think is needed at the moment, let's say, to stay competitive in that space if you're looking for opportunities from a skill set perspective?
Yeah, I think I will respond two ways. One is the first part. The talent need might be short, but we shouldn't be always looking for bringing the talent external as well, because there are people who are working in the companies, in the organizations. So we need to also think about, yes, bring that expertise from outside, but in the meantime, look into upskilling your own talent and how you provide the education, training opportunities, so you prepare them with the new opportunities and new experiences. And the second part of the question, for a new person entering the fashion space, what is needed? This is also a great question. Maybe the first thing is agility. Like, you need to be really agile. World is changing, and fashion industry is going through a big transformation right now. And this is not per one brand or a couple of brands. This is the whole industry. This means if you are entering this space right now, it is a bit messy. Like, there are some certain jobs will be repurposed and become something else. But that shouldn't scare anyone. I think that should be like taken as an opportunity. And whoever is starting a new job, I would suggest them be open-minded, be agile, be ready, because your job might be changing in the future. But if you want to be prepared before you start your career, I would suggest to look into the new skills like digital. And if that's a new talent or the younger generation, I'm sure they are more than digital and natives right now. But also sustainability, innovation, inclusion, diversity. Those are the new popular and the required skills right now.
And what do you look for in talent, Aksel, when you're looking for bring somebody in your team? What are the key things that you look for? You mentioned, especially in the space of sustainability, being agile and being, having the willingness to maybe change, adapt, and be flexible. But what do you look for in talent?
I'm smiling because you were helping me a lot finding the talent. I think you have this great unique gift to find the talent. Look, how I built the teams, it might be a bit different than all the other people. I always think that we should complement each other, not overlap with the expertise. I think that's what makes a team great, because there is no possibility that one person will be able to know everything. In that thinking, the required skills, again, being open-minded, being ready for change, and I look for more potential than the experience. That was my career journey. Like, when I became marketing manager, I didn't know anything about marketing, but I was given that role because they believed that I can do that. And throughout my career, it was always the case. It's really looking at your potential. Like, can you transfer your skills into a different job? And I think this is super important when you start to examine yourself, ask yourself the questions like, what is the thing that you are bringing to the table? And can you use that skill for something else? It doesn't have to be like the traditional thinking, marketing or merchandising or production. All of these functions will change drastically in the future, but the thinking will be there. So while we are talking you how to build the team and how to look for the talent, I think this is really important to be more flexible, open-minded, look around what is going on. And then learning agility is also super important. Sometimes I feel urgency that I need to read a lot and I need to learn a lot because the world is moving fast. And if you don't move yourself that fast, you will be behind. You don't want to stay behind. And that is something that you have to keep in mind. Are you really learning enough? Yeah.
Yeah. And one of the things that I learned from you, and you don't even know this, is that a few years ago, I was going for a position which was much more senior than I was in. And I asked you for advice, and you said, Kobi, I have a template for you. I'm going to share it with you. And that was, I believe, either a 2-pager or a 3-pager. Actually, a lot of questions that you can answer yourself about yourself, right? So that was also a great eye opener for me in terms of, okay, if I have to put, things that I've done on paper, what am I actually going to put down? And how do I maybe explain that in examples? So for me, it was great to do that exercise. So I'll urge a lot of people to also do that, to write down a few questions that you need to answer yourself, and this will help you translate that also better. We have a question from Puri, if I'm not mistaken. How are you engaging your employees in your sustainability efforts? I think that's a great question for you, Aksel.
That is an amazing question. Because this transformation, the sustainability cannot happen with one siloed department, a small group of people. Definitely not. I think we are only the catalysts in this journey and bringing the conversation to the right people and bringing the maybe the expertise. But we need everyone in the company to come with us with this journey, and it requires lots of efforts. The good thing is that there is an appetite from everyone in the company. We need to do the sustainability because this is the right thing to do. When you do that, you feel good. But still, you cannot close the doors. You cannot do something behind the scenes. You have to open all your doors. And the first thing is visibility, transparency, communication, and involving them in the journey and hearing them what they are saying. Because in the end, right now we are in the process of developing the targets. We cannot come up with targets by ourselves saying that this is what we will do and then expect them everyone will follow. We have to co-create. We have to do this together. And that is the first step of engaging. So they join in the beginning. They share what we should be doing in their perspective. And we hear from everyone. At the end, we will make the decisions, but still they feel that they are part of this journey. And then for doing part, we need them. We need everyone to do this. And that is how you position the sustainability in the foundation of your business. Not easy. I explained it as it's like super simple. Definitely not, because especially considering the companies with like 10,000s of people, how do you talk to everyone? How do you bring everyone? Yeah, it's important. But they are the must. Like if you're not doing the right thing for internal, within, whatever you are doing, external or the outside is not credible. And there are so many greenwashing again. There are so many brands, companies are talking, this is what we are doing or what we will be doing. But in reality, it is not happening. So those are the companies who are not maybe engaging the employees. Great question. Okay. Thanks for asking, Puri.
Yeah. And I have a follow-up on that. So how do you then maybe balance the innovation spend with your expected outcomes? Because what I understand from innovation, but educate me, Aksel, is everything is long term, right? So what you may be doing now, the outcome will maybe come a year or two from now. So how do you balance that, and how do you manage expectations within an organization?
Oh, another great question, Kobi. And first of all, I will maybe say that we changed our mindset on that. Even the words, like when you say transformational, people think that it is far ahead, 3-5 years, and then you do short term. Those things actually doesn't come up with the timeline, because of the technology acceleration, because of the digital acceleration, because of consumer expectations. The innovations should happen today, and the traditional thinking, the R&D, what you're saying, especially in the fashion industry, like working with more than 45 weeks of calendars, like you are saying or thinking, I will do this now and I will prepare this innovation and it will be implemented in the next 2 years. That changed because it's so easy. Like you can bring something digitally with the digital design today. So you design it and you put it and you sell it and then you produce it. So it's a different way of the things. Sometimes we put small ads, just like a phishing, to see if anyone will buy that before even we start to build the things. Mm-hmm. So in that respect, I don't think that the timelines is a problem anymore. Mm-hmm. And the question, the innovation spend with the expected outcomes, that is the value. Like you need to think about what is the value that you are creating, and then start to do the innovation. Like innovation should solve a problem, and it doesn't always have to come with cost. The first innovation that we did back in Tommy, I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say this here, but it wasn't actually costing us any money, and we saved money because of that innovation that we did. It was an outerwear innovation. It was maybe like, I don't want to quote the numbers here, but what I can say, it doesn't have to be coming with the spend, but that was a learning. Like that was a learning. When you bring the money to the company, you can ask for additional budget, and that's how we built the whole team and whole innovation journey. And that is the balance. Like there are different business models, especially for sustainable business, which comes with the innovation side. There are different business models that you can look into. It doesn't have to be always looking and increasing the innovation spend. Other ways to find it. And as long as you create the value somehow, you will continue to get that budget. That is proven throughout my career. It was never an issue.
Okay. So if I summarize, Aksel, I would say that innovation doesn't always have to cost, because you can think about the process maybe differently, maybe something you didn't do in the past. And as long as you're creating value, companies will be willing to invest because it's going to be an added value in the long run, short or long run, like you mentioned. Okay, we have a follow-up question from Maxwell. Maxwell, thank you very much for asking your question. Maxwell is asking, they recently had a discussion around H&M fashion practices. What are your views on fast fashion, and what do you think the future holds in this industry?
Amazing question. First of all, let's start with the consumer. Like now, consumer is more aware, more conscious, and when they pay for a product, they expect more value, and they would like to use it longer time. So we did lots of consumer research also for Calvin Klein while building the strategy, and we heard that the quality, durability are extremely important. And actually, quality and durability is equal sustainable because you are using a product longer than the normal life cycle, and that makes it sustainable. So the question is about fast fashion. That will be driven by the consumer changing behavior. This will not be happening overnight. I don't expect that everyone will stop to buy the fast fashion and then it will be changed. But as the fashion brands, we should also ask ourselves the question, now I'm wearing a green dress and we create that fashion, right? There are different colors and there are different trends every season. And that's what is happening behind the fashion industry. We find a reason for people to buy, and that is coming with different differences every season. But I see the industry is moving more to the hero products, meaning less product, but championing what they are really good at in terms of product category, in terms of colors, and serve the consumer with that kind of category. And maybe the retail prices will be even increasing because you will be putting more quality in it, and it will be more sustainable offering. And this is again chicken and egg. Brands will continue to move towards that direction, and consumer will be also driving to that direction. And do we still have the fast fashion in the future? In a different way, like different business models, maybe rental. So if you still would like to have different colors, different products, you don't want to wear the same thing again and again, maybe the consumer will be served by different models, like subscription business model, you get something different, or the rental, but it may not be the traditional thinking. So that shift we already started to see. In terms of circularity, circular business models, still the market share is super small. Like if you think about the whole circular business model, including rental, e-commerce, everything, it's not more than 5% of the industry. So are we there yet? Definitely not. But I think it's encouraging to see the brands are investing in that space, and the consumer is looking for that. Amazing question.
Okay. Well, thank you for your insights on that. I would like to shift gears a little bit in terms of, you being a female leader in a leadership position, driving a very important part or function within, I would say a high-profile organization, and the exposure that you have with the leadership and the board. What kind of advice would you give the younger, female generation aspiring, and looking at you as an example, like, oh, this is what I aspire to be? What kind of advice would you give them?
I would encourage everyone to be themselves, like be yourself, be authentic. I think everyone has a unique gift that has to be discovered. If they look to inside, they will find what they are bringing to the table, and then how do you utilize that talent, that gift, and serve for the needs of others is important. And I think that's what I have done in my career. I look what I am good at and what I'm bringing to the table, and that brought me here. And hopefully the journey is not ending here, and it will go further. But be true to yourself, and look who you are and what you want to do with your life. And to be honest, reading the question again here, I'm thinking that I have a lot to learn from the younger generation, and I have so many younger mentors. We discussed the advisors, trusted advisors, mentors. So many of them around me is much younger than me, and they know much more than me. And maybe the advice for this group of people, offer that what you have to the people maybe older than you or around you, because I think this young generation, they are really full of everything. And they have a lot to offer, maybe more than me, and I'm learning from that. Okay. They should be afraid of sharing.
It's a little bit back and forth in terms of having an example that you can aspire, but also maybe also being open into advice from the younger generation, because that can help you also evolve. That's a good one. Actually, you are part of an ERG group within PVH. Can you share a little bit about why you actually let's say decided to be part of that, and why that's important to you?
That's a great question as well. I mentioned a bit of that individualism and bringing people together. Like, we are all human and we need that common humanity. Like, we need to be surrounded with a group of people that are looking like us. And I think the employee resource groups are offering that. Like, we feel more a part of a group, and then we can share openly and we can share in a safe environment, that is actually helping all of us to grow, because it is, you might question that, is it diverse? But I think the diverse experience is coming when you start to create that safe environments for people to share. And that's why I wanted to be a part of this group, because it is important to pull the people together, like bring the people together, open up to create that trusted environment and start to talk about the real important thing, problems to solve. Most of the times during the daily business, it's so difficult to think about like, how do you grow a female talent? You wouldn't be able to stop what you're doing and think about this. But that employee resources group is a great place to actually put really tough questions and examine them, and also look around if there are different ways to do that. So I'm really happy to be a part of it.
Yeah, and I remember, and I don't know if you were there physically in the building. I remember that we had a leadership, female leaders within PVH. They had a session where they shared a lot of their personal experiences and the trials and tribulations, how they got where they got. And what I really liked about the stories is that, typically, sometimes in organizations, you don't have access to, these senior leadership people. But I think it was great that they were vulnerable and sharing their stories, why, how they managed to be where they are. I remember that, our CMO was talking about, that she was printing. She was also, making coffee or printing. Those are things that you sometimes expect maybe somebody in the leadership not to do. But sometimes people don't realize that, it is a journey, right? And you meet a lot of people in that journey who can play an important part of your journey by being, an ambassador or by endorsing you. And I always say that, behind the scenes, there are always people behind the scenes pulling for you that you sometimes don't know. So it's good to have a few people around you that know your story, that know where you potentially would like to go. And they can maybe also make an impact that way. So I always tell people that don't forget the people around you, and also let people see your work. That's also very important.
Maybe just add one more thing. The most important decisions about your career is usually taken when you are not in the room. And you have to make sure that...
Did you steal this from me, Aksel?
No.
that is my quote.
Say yes. Let's say yes. I didn't know it, but it's good. It's good that it was. I heard it via, so it was your quote. Reached out to me. I think it's important to have the advocates for you, who can speak on behalf of you when you're not in the room, and that's how you also grow your career in the companies. It's super important, and you have to make efforts for it. It is important. This is not a lonely journey. You cannot reach to some place by yourself. You have to ask help. You have to offer help, but you also have to ask help as well. It seems like I have said it.
Yeah. You did say it, and maybe you even told me once, and I kept it. I've been sharing this for a long time, but I think it's very important because as a leader, and you know this as well, Aksel, you are part of those conversations where we are making decisions about people's career, and if nobody's advocating for you in those rooms, it's going to be very difficult to get that opportunity, right? So, like you said, just make sure that people who are part of the room can say at least something on your behalf, right? That's very important.
And other thing that you mentioned, Kobi, is that senior leaders are there being vulnerable and sharing the stories. Maybe the companies may not be creating that platform or the setup for the leaders to speak. I also encourage the people to reach out to the senior leaders. Like, that's what I did in my career. Most of the leaders got back to me. Like, if I ask for something, if I ask for their time, for their advice, I believe like if you make the effort towards that, you will hear something from them. And it also puts you in a different position because then they know you. We are just in assumption of, oh, I shouldn't take the time, I shouldn't ask this, like they are these senior leaders. I would encourage everyone actually to be brave and put the need or the request there and to show up as well. Maybe also being mindful, because the people, especially the senior leaders, are really busy. Maybe they may not be returning you in a shorter time, and you should be also thoughtful about how the other person is taking this. But I always saw that they got back to me.
Okay. Well, to be honest, and I think that's maybe a skill that I have, is that I don't really see the difference between senior people, not senior people. I just see it as an individual who may have some insights that can help me out. And if it happens to be a senior person, great.
I think that is the most admirable skill that you have for me. You see the people as who they are, without judging, without bias. You're really seeing the people. And that's why you said the levels, but it doesn't come up with anything. And I think that makes you a great talent acquisition leader because of that as well. You can see the need and you can match the talent without actually thinking the bias. Super important. We have to find the ways to spread this around as well.
Yeah.
Not everyone has this.
No, but it's I think it's a process, and we are gradually making steps, but having the uncomfortable conversations, that's where we start. And we need to have advocates, right? Like you being part of the female leadership ERG group. I think that's a way to also express your passion and try to see how you can make an impact in a different way. We have a question from Shelley. Shelley is saying, how do you tackle consumers in a developing and a developed market? Because consumers might not be mindful in using sustainable materials in the developed market rather than consumer developing in one. Your thoughts?
Another great question. Look, in the end, what the brands are developing or the companies are developing will be consumed with someone. And that's also another shift. Like, I think the brands were developing the things because they were the brands and they want to do something, especially with this sustainable thing. Again, it's the chicken and egg. The brands should start to offer the sustainable materials, but in the meantime, educate the consumer to do something. Let's say recyclable. Like, if the consumer doesn't know how to recycle a box or how to recycle a product, like even if you're offering a recyclable product, that wouldn't be helping anyone. That wouldn't be helping planet. That wouldn't be helping the economy. So that comes with the education. And I think it is really, really important. The communication that you create around the products that you are offering is coming with a very simple language of what you expect from the consumer to do. But it will take time. We should be also mindful of that, because the consumer behavior cannot change from one day to another. And I have seen many examples of that, like in the consumer groups with Unilever, like they were selling the detergents like this big size, and then they actually made it sustainable and created a smaller version of it, which is more compact. So you are actually getting the same impact, but with a smaller bottle. But the consumer was thinking, oh, this is smaller. Why am I going to pay the same price because this is smaller? They were getting something special. Actually, it's exactly the same as the big bottle, but it's sustainable. If you don't communicate this and if you don't make this, they will go back to their the normal routines and they won't be buying. And that also requires the industry shift. I also think that one brand or one company cannot change the consumer behavior. That's super important. It should come with a collective effort. Sometimes a group of brands should do the same thing and the same communication. And this is what is happening in the fashion industry. We don't have a common sustainable language. We don't have a common tracking mechanism as well. So we are just confusing the consumer minds. This is sustainable. No, this is sustainable. You should do that. So I think there, definitely, I see the room to grow. And it's not only about developing or a developed market. we are even seeing on the all the markets right now.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for that. I think that's also some great insights. And what I love about doing this is that you continue to learn about different topics on the subject. So we are almost coming to our end of our session, and I have a few questions that I would like to ask. One is, if you look back, because like I said, you have a long careers to go, right? So far, what moment have you been very proud of?
Many, not just one. But I think
Name a few.
one thing I did well was taking the risks. Like I wasn't afraid of going on a different path, and that's not something everyone is doing. Like I had a very successful career in every company that I worked for, and I could have just stayed in one function and follow my career path, and I would definitely reach to a senior position. But I didn't want to follow that. I've really followed my passion, and I really followed what I want to do. And I'm really proud of that. It was never easy. Like walking from a path which doesn't exist is not easy. It's a very brave decision. But throughout my whole career, I only had tailored roles for myself. I never had like a job opening and then apply for that job and got the job. It didn't happen for me. And I'm proud of that. Like I created my own path to walk.
Yeah. I look at it a little bit differently. I said that you are always asking questions of how to solve problems, and then people say, "You go solve it."
That hurts as well.
That's also a way to look at it. And actually, you mentioned passion, because I'm also a very big advocate when it comes to finding your own passion. How does an individual do that? How do you know this is my passion?
It starts with self-awareness. First of all, you need to start to think about what makes you happy, what makes you heartbeat. And what makes you heartbeat doesn't mean you're good at that as well. So there are some people who has passion about something, let's say sustainability innovation, but that doesn't make them successful on that. First, you need to seek that inside of you, what gives you that tick that you want to follow, and ask yourself why. Why do you want to do that? When you find your why, the reason behind that, then you can follow your passion, because the following passion also is not an easy journey. It requires the resilience, the efforts behind that, and you have to ask yourself why you are having that passion. And then if that answer is clear, you can just find your passion and then follow it.
Yeah, that's a good one, because I did Find Your Why by Simon Sinek.
Yes.
I would say 3 years ago, if I'm not mistaken. And that really, in my case, really helped me reconfirm, why I have a passion for what I do and the reason why I do it. And to this day, it's always in my notebook, my why, because I think that it really helps you also as an individual. And it's a great exercise, by the way, because it really takes you back into your childhood and the different steps in your journey, and to help you identify, some key words that can help you identify, what your why is. So it's definitely a day that you have to take aside for that, or two, but and do it with somebody who also, knows you or can ask you critical questions for you to think about it. But I found it a great exercise. So the people out there, Find Your Why, great book with how to help you identify your why. As we come, go ahead, Aksel.
I think it's rewarding to find that, because then it doesn't become like a work, or it doesn't become like, oh, you're spending your time on something that you don't like. It really becomes fun. And yeah, I would also recommend everyone to go through that exercise.
Yeah, I really loved it. And I also did it with, an individual who you know, and it was a great exercise, asking the questions to get to know me also better, especially from a childhood perspective, and the reason why, I do certain things. So we are almost coming to an end, and I would like to ask you, if you could step into my shoes, what question would you ask me that I have not asked you yet?
You asked me lots of questions already. But I think we jump from one to another. Maybe not a question. I can summarize like what.
Yeah, that's fine.
I would say, especially for the younger generation here who are watching us today, like I think there are three things that made a difference for me, and maybe that would make the difference for you. One is really increase your self-awareness, like who you are, what you're doing, what makes you tick, what gives you the heartbeat, super important questions. And what are you good at? Like, are you really good at that? That's the first thing that is a starting point. And the second thing is increase your awareness around you. That's also what I did. I always watched what is happening in the industry, what's happening in the society, in the world, and try to see the trends, like what is happening, try to understand that. And then you can try to see if what you are bringing to the table, what is your why, who you are as a person, is matching where the world is going around you. And then you can find a space to fit in. And the third thing I would say, be brave, take the risks, and make your own path. It's worth it. Not a question, but I thought this would be important.
Yeah. Well, I forgot to mention. I forgot to mention as well. You are a big advocate in always educating yourself. So I know every year, you do a course, how to educate yourself, and these are not a course like a one-day thing. So you're always educating yourself. And one of the things that I started to do a little bit more is I started to read more books. So I think the last maybe I didn't really like reading books, but the last 3-4 years I've been reading. I try to read at least a book like every 2 months. Because it just helps you also learn new things, open your mind, get different perspective, get different insights, which is always very valuable. So Axel, as we come to a close, I would like to thank you for your time, because I know that you're working bi-coastal when it comes to time zones. So, so you blocked this time for us, which we really appreciate, to get your insights. And as a dear friend, I can always know that I can lean on you to ask you any questions that can help me make a decision. I thank you very much for the insight that you shared with our audience. That's why we call it Talent Bites, something that Naomi and I, we thought about a few months ago, like, hey, how can we make a difference? How can we bring, some insights to young talent? So that's why we came up with the Talent Bites. How can listeners connect with you, or which different platforms are you on for people to connect with you?
Of course. First of all, I also would like to thank you, and then I will tell you the how to reach me.
Okay.
What we are doing here is amazing, Kobi. Like spreading around the world, increasing the awareness around equality, diversity, inclusion. It's really admirable, and thank you so much for giving me the space to be a part of this conversation today. And I hope it was valuable for the people who were listening us today. And I want to thank Esade as well, along with you. I'm always open for any kind of interaction. I may not be the fast responder. I'm sorry for that, but everyone can reach out to me through LinkedIn, and I will always get back to the people. It might take time, but I always do that. So feel free to reach out.
Yeah. From that perspective, we have the same disclaimer. Well, thank you everybody for tuning in to our second edition. We look forward to bringing you the third one soon. And we appreciate the support of Esade Careers and now Esade Black in Business and Allies Club. Thank you, and have a good evening, good night, or good afternoon.